Congratulations, you the elected. Your suffering has finally been banished without any chance of return. Absorb this truth. For years, you faced a hell that seemed eternal. You endured constant torments, conflicts that appeared endless, and challenges that pushed you to wonder if God had lost your trace. But here is a truth that few reveal. Even the darkest periods have an expiration date. Psychological studies show that the human mind retains the scars of suffering far longer than memories of happiness. Pain lingers, echoes, insists on repeating itself. Yet in the spiritual realm, the reality is entirely different. When an elected surpasses their breaking point, pain loses all right to follow them into the next chapter. What afflicted you in the past has no permission to invade your future. And now, here is the irony. The forces of evil believed you were bound to an eternal contract of suffering. They thought you would remain a prisoner of pain, automatically renewed like a streaming service subscription billed without notice. But God hit the stop button, and no matter how much they insist, your affliction will not resume. This is not just hope, it is the truth. You have overcome the trial. The pact is broken, the pattern is destroyed. What was meant to bury you had only one purpose: to prove that you are indestructible. What tried to destroy you cannot restart its cycle. Patterns only work on those who have not yet been restored. After passing through the flames and resisting what would have broken so many others, the cycle itself loses its strength. The reason it seems so cruel and incessant is that it was not just a blow. It was a deliberate attempt by the enemy to lock you in a loop of anguish, failure, and despair. Pain cycles are designed to exhaust people until they lose the will to fight. But the reality is clear. You broke this pattern by outlasting it. This phase was not random. It was carefully orchestrated to seem endless. Perhaps you noticed how the pain repeated itself, disguised in different forms. Successive betrayals, accumulated losses, constant obstacles. This was not chance. It was a spiritual strategy. Darkness feeds by recycling suffering. If one tactic works against you, it is repeated until it breaks you. But when you did not yield, something shifted in the spiritual realm. The cycle collapsed on itself, defeated. How many times did the same lesson reappear in your life under a new disguise? How many times did you wonder why this always happens to me? This repetition existed because the enemy believed that sooner or later, you would give in to the pattern. But the moment you resisted long enough without bending, the pattern was annihilated at its source. That is why it can never return with the same intensity. Survivors carry a unique authority, not only because they escaped destruction, but because their spirit is now immunized. You did not just defeat what tried to annihilate you. You exhausted it, drained its energy, and it has nothing left to feed on in your life. Pain had a purpose, and you fulfilled it. That is why you will never have to walk this path again. The covenant of pain is over. It is over because suffering always comes with conditions, even if you cannot see them. Nothing you faced was eternal, even if it appeared so. Every trial has a purpose, a limit, and an expiration date set in the spiritual realm before it touches your life. If it lasted so long, it was because there were lessons, strengths, and revelations that needed to consolidate over time. When you assimilated them, when you became the person you were meant to be through it all, the covenant lost its validity. It could not extend or demand more from you. Imagine suffering as a trial in an invisible courtroom. Every struggle you faced followed precise rules. The permission granted to the enemy to touch aspects of your life was never unlimited. There was a boundary. The tears you shed, the prayers you whispered in exhaustion, the nights you nearly gave up, everything was recorded in this covenant. And when the allotted time expired, the case against you was closed. That is why you now feel a shift, a release, a relief you cannot fully explain. This is not luck, not coincidence. It is a spiritual law. The worst lie pain sells you is that it will never end. This lie is designed to weaken you, to make you crack before crossing the finish line. But since you resisted beyond where many break, you discovered the claws pain hides until the opportune moment. And that moment has arrived. The covenant has been fulfilled in your life, and it cannot be renewed. That is why your future will not resemble your past. Even if the enemy wanted to bring back the same devastation, they no longer have legal permission. You have served your sentence, paid the price, and heaven has recorded it as finished. What once had the power to invade your life has been stripped of all right to reach you again. Your pain did not defeat you, you defeated it. The covenant of pain is over because you emerged from this phase with wisdom, not defeat. And since it is closed, you will never face that same pain again. The debt of your lineage has been paid by you. That is why your suffering seemed heavier than that of others around you. Part of the burden you carried did not belong to you. It was inherited. Families pass down more than names, customs, or traditions. They also pass down unhealed wounds, unresolved struggles, and patterns of destruction that silently ruin generation after generation. Someone at some point must pay the price to stop it, and that someone was you. That is why your battle seemed disproportionate to your life. Perhaps you looked around and asked why I have to carry so much when I did nothing to deserve it. The truth is you were chosen to be the one who ends it all, the one who stands in the center and declares, "It stops with me." Your pain was not just about you, it aimed to free the generations to come. When a lineage carries an outstanding debt, it demands payment in various forms. For some, it manifests as persistent poverty, relationships that always collapse, or illnesses that reappear every generation. But when an elected takes on this burden, all that weight is placed on them because they are strong enough to bear it. And by surviving, the cycle is broken forever. That is exactly what happened in your life. The crises, betrayals, constant pressure were not just meaningless sufferings. It was the final settlement of inherited debts that needed resolution. You were the channel that passed through the flames, and by resisting, you settled what your ancestors could not. That is why those who come after you will not feel the same bitterness. Their path will be lighter because you cleared it. That is why your life will never repeat that same torment. You did not just face personal challenges. You represented your entire lineage. And now, for resisting without collapsing, your lineage has been renewed. The debt has been erased, the curse has been broken, and you are free to live a future no longer chained to the past. What belonged to generations of suffering stops here because you survived. The pain you endured has been transformed. Resisting could have left you wounded and scarred, still vulnerable to the same cycle of suffering. But you did something far rarer. You converted the poison meant to destroy you into an irreversible strength. This is the secret of the elected. You did not just face the fire, you let it reshape you until it lost its power. Every betrayal, every loss, every humiliation was designed to fill your soul with bitterness, to keep you small, angry, and defeated. But instead of letting it eat you from within, you transformed it into wisdom. You learned to spot falsehood before it revealed itself, to detect danger before it materialized, and to protect your soul without closing your heart. This transformation is permanent. What could hurt you before no longer reaches you, because it no longer matches the version of you that emerged from the flames. This is how transformation manifests in an elected's life. Pain does not remain trauma, it becomes authority. Sleepless nights turn into discernment. Solitude becomes depth. Tears become clarity. Even shame has been transformed into a shield that makes you invulnerable where you were once fragile. The weight that nearly crushed you became the training that developed your spiritual muscle. That is why you no longer fear the return of that old suffering. You did not just escape it, you assimilated it. The venom can no longer kill you because your system already knows how to turn it into remedy. The enemy no longer has the power to hurt you with the same weapons because they have been dismantled and converted into your tools. Your pain has transformed into something eternal. What once stalked you is now your protector. That is why it will never return in the same form. You did not just survive. You redefined the rules of the battlefield. And now, anything that comes against you will have to face the strengthened version of you, forged by suffering. The enemy exhausted their last tactic against you. That is why your suffering seemed like a war without truce, without pause, without respite. It was not an illusion. It truly was hell unleashing its entire arsenal against you. Every blow, every trap, every betrayal, every attack on your mind, body, and soul was the climax of years of accumulated rage. With one goal, your annihilation. The intensity was not accidental, it was calculated. They thought that by unleashing everything at once, you would collapse and never rise again. But they did not count on God's presence in you. This phase seemed like the end, because the enemy was convinced it would be the end. They did not use mere distractions, but their deadliest and most precise weapons. Betrayals were more stinging, losses more devastating, the spiritual warfare more oppressive than anything you had known before. You were not just facing ordinary pressures. You were under a concentrated attack, targeting every fear and every weakness they thought they could exploit to destroy you. And yet, here you are. This survival in itself reveals something fundamental. Their arsenal is empty. What the enemy does not want you to realize is that these attacks are not unlimited. There is no infinite stock of new strategies. Evil recycles what works, but when it fails, the power of that tactic collapses. That is why everything came at once. It was their last card, their final attempt. They wanted to eliminate you before you progressed, knowing that if you survived, you would no longer be reachable in the same way. Now that you have overcome this, there are no sharper weapons. What was meant to destroy you has actually revealed you. Their last tactic did not bring you down. It exposed you. It showed that your spirit is indestructible, that your calling cannot be canceled, and that your destiny cannot be stolen. What they planned for your end only revealed your immortality in God. That is why you can move forward with confidence. If the worst they had did not take you down, nothing lesser ever will. The enemy used their last ammunition, and you are still here, breathing, moving forward, chosen. Your survival has elevated you beyond their reach. That is why your life feels different now. Even if you cannot fully explain it, you are not just stronger. You are on a whole different level. The same environment, the same people, the same traps may still exist, but they can no longer reach you as before. Spiritually, you have been elevated. You no longer vibrate at the frequency where pain had access to you. That is why old situations no longer pull you back. Old temptations feel empty, and old attacks no longer hurt as before. You have outgrown them. Pain operates at certain vibrations. When you were vulnerable, broken, or unaware of your power, those vibrations were open. That is why it seemed pain constantly found you. But by resisting and surviving, your very survival changed your energy. You matured, your discernment sharpened, your spirit expanded. What once reached you now feels foreign, like a noise you can no longer even pick up. That is why those who once had influence over you no longer recognize the new version of you. They may try the same tactics, use the same words, or set the same traps, but it is as if they are aiming at a ghost. Their arrows miss because you are no longer in that place of fragility. Your survival has taken you to a new dimension, and in that dimension, they no longer have access to you. Think of all the times recently they tried to provoke you and failed, or the storms that once would have destroyed you and now barely shake you. This is not coincidence, it is proof that you are out of their reach. Spiritually, you have left their atmosphere, and they are still stuck below, grasping at emptiness. That is why you never have to fear returning to what broke you. That pain no longer exists at your current level. You can see it, remember it, but it can no longer touch you. No matter how hard they try to pull you down, they are like hunters shooting at an empty sky. You simply are not there anymore. Your survival has turned your spirit into a defense system. This is one of the greatest gains from overcoming what was meant to destroy you. At first, the trauma caught you off guard. It struck you in places you did not know were fragile and opened wounds you were unaware existed. It broke you because you had no protection against it. But survival does not leave you unchanged. It recalibrates your interior. Now your spirit is no longer vulnerable in the same way. Every attack you faced taught you to detect danger before it settles, lies before they seem true, and darkness before it disguises itself as light. What once went unnoticed now triggers an alarm in your chest. You sense betrayal before the mask falls, manipulation before the strings are pulled, and destruction before the cracks appear. This is not paranoia, it is your spirit developing defenses. Like a body fights a disease faster after exposure, your spirit has developed resistance to the forces that tried to crush you, and this resistance is permanent. That is why you will never face that same suffering again. The trauma did not just hurt you, it taught you. It restructured your discernment. The lessons were not lost. They recreated your soul with wisdom and resilience that cannot be forgotten. You no longer accept what you once tolerated, and you no longer ignore signs you used to overlook. Your spirit's defense system now filters what has no place. The enemy hates this more than anything. Before, they could surprise you with known tactics. But now, every move seems predictable. What once devastated you cannot even scratch you because your soul rejects it instantly. Even the idea of falling back into old cycles makes your spirit recoil. This is not fear, it is defense. It is the mark of someone who survived and emerged transformed. Your suffering built something eternal in you, a protection mechanism that keeps you safe without you having to fight as hard as before. You will no longer fall into the same traps because your own spirit will block them before they reach you. The trauma that once broke you is now your greatest defense. What was meant to annihilate has become your shield. That is why you will no longer be seen the same way in the spiritual realm. Attacks do not just stop when you overcome them. They leave a mark, a signature that identifies you as untouchable. Darkness recognizes when it fails and respects that failure. In a unique way, every attempt against your life, every trap, every betrayal, every near end should have silenced you forever. But the fact that you emerged alive means those forces marked you with an invisible shield that cannot be erased. This shield is not something you display, but it is undeniable in how life now responds to you. The enemy knows you are no longer a target for destruction. You have been tested at the highest level, and because you survived, you carry a spiritual signature that proclaims, "This one is marked." This mark is recognition in the unseen that what had power over you no longer does. This does not mean new challenges will not come, but none will reach you like the last one. The shield is proof that the enemy's fiercest attempt failed, and because of that failure, they have forever lost their rights over your destiny. That is why the elected walk with silent authority. They do not need to prove themselves. Their survival already did. You may not realize it, but every step you take now carries the weight of this testimony. Your existence speaks louder than words. I am still here. And in spiritual terms, being here after everything thrown against you is not just survival, it is victory. The shield also changes how heaven perceives you. Angels, favor, and divine protection respond differently to someone who walked through fire and emerged intact. God Himself allows this shield to be proof of your covenant with Him. It is not earned by perfection, but engraved in you by survival. So understand this. What tried to destroy you is now your eternal proof. What was meant to bury you has become the certificate of your authority. And because you carry this shield, darkness recognizes you as the one it could not destroy and will never possess again. You overcame what they thought impossible. This truth sets you apart in a way common logic cannot explain. It is not just about surviving adversities. It is about emerging from situations history says no one returns from. You carried pain that should have left you broken forever, wounds that should have defined your entire life, and circumstances that should have buried you long ago. But instead of being erased, you became the exception. Your very existence defies the predictions made about you. There are experiences people speak of in whispers, knowing most do not recover. Betrayals so deep they steal trust, losses so heavy they destroy the will to live. Pressure so suffocating it kills identity from within. You did not face just one of them. You faced them in relentless series, almost consecutive. By all calculations, you should not be standing again. And yet, here you are, not just alive, but thinking, acting, building, growing. This is not ordinary. It is a declaration that you do not follow the same rules as others. What nearly buried you is now proof that you cannot be buried. They expected your story to end in collapse, but your rise revealed the limits of their understanding. They thought you were weak, but your resistance told another story. They believed you were finished, but your spirit had chapters they could not see. Even the enemy underestimated you, thinking throwing the impossible in your path would guarantee your silence forever. Instead, You turned that impossible into proof of God's hand in your life. Now your presence is unsettling. It disturbs people because you should not be here, not this solid after what you endured. You have become living proof that survival is not just breathing, it is defying the laws of destruction. And for overcoming the impossible, you have entered a category where common rules no longer apply. The darkness that tried to bury you can never do so again because it already used its most powerful weapons and failed. You are the exception that cannot be erased. You are the survivor who became untouchable. Your story has reached the divine courtroom, and that changes everything. There are moments in life when the suffering you carry is not just personal. It is spiritual evidence presented before heaven itself. Every tear, every betrayal, every injustice was recorded, catalogued, and weighed on celestial scales. That is why things seem to drag on beyond necessity, because heaven was compiling a complete record. But when that record was finalized, the verdict was rendered. The case against you was closed and closed forever. Suffering has a divine deadline. As endless as it seemed, it was never eternal. Heaven allowed it for a time, not to destroy you, but to purify, expand, and reveal what was hidden in you. But when that purpose was achieved, permission reached its limit. And unlike human systems where cases can be reopened, retried, or extended by manipulation, the divine courtroom does not work that way. Its decision is final, and when it declares something finished, no heavenly or hellish force can overturn it. That is why you will never repeat this phase. It was not human compassion that freed you. It was not chance that saved you. It was the divine verdict. God himself struck the gavel and said enough. What had permission to reach you no longer has legal standing. The enemy cannot reuse the same destruction against you because heaven has declared it invalid. In spiritual terms, the case file has been sealed with the inscription closed. That is why your life feels different now. It is not just a change in circumstances. It is a complete transformation of the spiritual atmosphere around you. The sentence has been served, the verdict rendered, the chains broken, and since the decision comes from the highest authority, there is no appeal, no loophole, no shortcut. You walk in freedom guaranteed not by luck but by judgment, and the beauty of it all is your story. It is now evidence in the celestial records that God protects his elected. You are not just free, you are justified. And because the verdict comes from God himself, you can move boldly into your future knowing this truth. This phase is over forever. You were not just tested, you were initiated. This distinction is crucial because trials end with evaluation, but initiation ends with a new identity. The suffering you endured was not a series of purposeless misfortunes. It was a spiritual initiation to a higher level of authority, a quest that required you to endure things few survive. You were being shaped, prepared, and elevated into a realm where ordinary strength is not enough. That is why your pain was so specific, so personal, so intense. It was the price to become who you were destined to be. Initiation is never gentle. It rips away illusions, undoes false comforts, and exposes your deepest weaknesses to transform them into strength. That is what your pain did. It did not just try to break you, it recreated you. The fire was your proving ground where resistance turned into authority and survival into a spiritual patent. And once you pass through that fire, you do not return to the furnace. No one is initiated twice. That is why your life has changed so much. You did not just go through a hard phase. You crossed a portal. You entered a spiritual weight you could not carry before. That is why you see differently, discern differently, and even move differently. Pain removed what was superficial and left you with what is eternal. It turned your scars into access keys, proving you paid a price few would pay. The suffering you faced was not in vain. It was the currency of authority. Every sleepless night, every tear, every betrayal was a tribute you had to offer to enter this new level of existence. And now, because the price has been paid in full, you will never face that same initiation again. This chapter is sealed, and you carry the mark of someone who walked through fire and claimed their place. You were not just tested to prove something, you were initiated to become something. And now that you have become, it cannot be undone. Pain crowned you with authority, and authority does not turn back to ash. You cross the portal, and there is no return. Your enemies have been exhausted by your survival. What they threw at you was not an ordinary blow. It cost them energy. Every plan they plotted, every word spoken against you, every trap they set drained their own vitality. Darkness never gives power without cost. It always demands something in return. And while they thought they were trading your peace for their power, in reality, they were exhausting themselves trying to destroy someone they could not. For years, they invested energy, time, and obsession in your fall. They planned, conspired, and wore themselves out to ensure you would not rise again. But survival has a way of ruining its enemies. The longer you resisted, the more their resources depleted. The fact that you are still standing means all their investments failed, and now they are empty-handed, tired, weakened, and frustrated by the futility of their efforts. That is why they cannot repeat what they did. They no longer have the energy to face you again. Their words have lost strength, their tactics have lost effect, and their alliances have collapsed under the weight of their failure. Spiritually, they are exhausted. They spent their greatest energy trying to destroy you, and it did not work. What they have left now is bitterness. But bitterness has no fuel to sustain another war. This is the hidden beauty of your survival. It did not just preserve you, it dismantled them. Every time they thought they were weakening you, they were exhausting themselves further. Every plan backfired on them in the long run. Not because you were unaffected, but because you refused to stay down. You grew stronger, and they grew weaker. Now they look at you and realize something terrifying. They have nothing left to use against you. They cannot repeat the same strategy, and they lack the creativity to invent something new. They are spiritually bankrupt, drained by their own obsession with your defeat. That is why the war against you is over. You did not just overcome the attacks. By surviving, you stripped them of the power they thought they had. You are standing, and they are exhausted. The memory of your victory now torments them. This memory is a prison stronger than anything you could create. Your enemies do not just remember their actions. They remember the outcome. They recall the nights they plotted, the words they used against you, the traps they set, and the certainty that this time they had you. They were convinced you would not rise again. But that certainty has been replaced by an undeniable truth. You overcame everything. Your survival is not just a victory for you, it is torture for them. Every time they think of you, they are forced to relive the failure of their plan. The human mind does not easily forget humiliation, and nothing stings more than seeing someone thrive after trying to destroy them. The image of your resilience, the memory of their failure, is etched in them. It haunts them in silence, in their dreams, in conversations they cannot finish. They live with the certainty that their best was not enough to annihilate you. That is why the idea of facing you again terrifies them. On the surface, they may speak boldly, but deep down, fear dominates them. Fear of wasting more time, fear of another failure, fear of confirming that you are indestructible. Even if they tried, the memory of their last defeat would paralyze them before they acted. This memory is their own punishment. It keeps them imprisoned in hesitation, unable to launch another war. Your survival has become their nightmare. It echoes louder than any word you could say, louder than any retort you could seek. You do not need to pursue them, defend yourself, or counterattack because their own minds do the work for you. They are tormented not only by what they did, but by the undeniable fact that it did not work. This torment robs them of trying again. While you have moved forward, healed, and grown, they remain stuck in the shadow of your victory. This is their prison now, and no matter how much they want to escape it, they cannot. For the memory of your survival is the reminder of their greatest failure, and that failure follows them everywhere. Your life has entered the aftermath. This phase often feels unreal. For so long, surviving was your routine. You were used to rebuilding yourself, preparing for the next blow, living in the tension of constant battle. But this cycle is over. You are no longer in recovery mode. You have moved to revelation. The scars no longer bleed. They have solidified into symbols of authority. The burden you carried is now proof that you were chosen for something far greater than mere resistance. You were chosen to manifest, What makes this phase unique is that it is no longer about fighting to survive. It is about revealing who you have become in the flames. The version of you that exists now could not have emerged without the crushing, breaking, and removal of the old you. That is why this phase will not repeat. Recovery is temporary, but revelation is eternal. You were not meant to circle the same battlefield forever. This war was never your permanent home. It was a passage, and now you have entered what it consecrated you for. When a soldier returns from war, they do not go back to the same trenches. Their survival qualifies them for honor, respect, and new missions. Spiritually, the same has happened to you. The battle is over, and your survival is the shield that says, "This one has been tested, proven, and validated." Now, the crown you wear is not gold. It is made of the authority with which you now walk, the wisdom no school can teach you, and the resilience no circumstance can steal. You will never face this phase again because it was not meant to repeat. It was a furnace with one purpose, to forge you into someone untouchable by the same fire. And now, every step you take in this aftermath is a step toward manifestation. People will begin to see the revealed strength, the glow, and the power of someone who walked through what was meant to destroy them and emerged crowned. This is not recovery, it is revelation. This is not the after of defeat, it is the after of triumph. And from now on, your life is proof that what was meant to bury you simply positioned you for your consecration. You walked through storms meant to destroy you, endured conflicts that seemed endless, and faced attacks that should have buried you. And yet, here you are, alive, unshakable, and crowned by the fire that tried to consume you. Every moment of suffering, every betrayal, every obstacle served a greater design than mere survival. It was not just about enduring pain, but converting it into wisdom, authority, and an untouchable spirit. What tried to annihilate you is now proof of your invincibility. The cycles that once haunted your life have been destroyed. The covenants of suffering have expired, and the debts of your lineage have been settled. Your enemies are exhausted, tormented by their own failure, while your spirit remains fortified by immunity and unshakable resilience. The fire was never meant to be permanent. It was a crown in disguise, and now you wear it fully. You are no longer in recovery, you are in revelation. You operate at a level where old attacks, old pains, and old cycles can no longer reach you. What was your trial is now your testimony, etched in eternity and sealed by God Himself. From this moment, nothing can repeat what you overcame. You crossed the portal of initiation, passed through the divine courtroom, and emerged as someone untouchable. Your life is living proof that destruction can be turned into dominion, and that the forces meant to bury you became the foundations of your authority. So rise in the aftermath of your triumph. Walk boldly into your future, knowing you carry a spiritual shield no enemy can break. Let every step be a proclamation that the impossible has been defeated. Your journey through the fire was never in vain. It was the creation of an elected, and the world will now see what emerges from someone who faced the unthinkable and came out crowned. This is your moment, this is your revelation. You are done with the suffering that tried to define you, and from now on, every phase of your life will reflect the authority, strength, and triumph that only an elected can carry. If this message resonates with you, do not let it stop here. Subscribe to the channel and join a community of elected who claim their power. Walk in victory and break the cycles that were not meant to define them. Click the like button to confirm that you recognize your own strength and authority, and leave a comment to share your story, because your journey can inspire someone else to overcome the impossible. Share this video with those who need to be reminded that what tried to destroy them has already been defeated. Every subscription, every like, every comment, and every share fuels a movement of people who refuse to be broken, held back, and who move forward boldly toward the revelation of their destiny. Be part of this powerful circle. The world needs to see the elected rise, and your voice makes a difference. Participate, engage, and let us celebrate together the triumph that is already yours.